So many times when we're building our businesses, part of the struggle is, I know this is shocking, getting clients, right? We've been talking this through. And do you ever feel my question to go out there is, do you ever feel like you're talking to the wind, or maybe you're talking, there isn't even any wind out there? Anybody have that problem? Or are you guys just got such a steady flow of crazy quality conversations and people just jumping into your lap? Where are you guys at?
It's more like it's no, it's not like talking to the wind, but it's not like, if you're a performance person and everybody claps for you after you do your thing, that's
Mhm.
feedback. It's more like that feedback, that positive attaboy stuff isn't coming at you. You have to endure a long time of none of that coming back at you. It's the death of a salesman kind of a
Mhm.
thing, you know.
Yeah.
Keep talking, but nobody's telling you attaboy. You're just sort of doing it, just kind of grind through it a day at a time.
Okay. How's everybody else doing? What's everybody else's, where are they at? I mean, Terry, with your workshops and stuff, your challenge. I mean, you did like a flood of new people coming in and just overwhelmed with new business? Where are you at?
Not overwhelmed, but certainly on the right horizon, right?
Okay. Okay.
Going in the right direction.
So do you have all you need, or do you need more?
No, I don't have all I need, but I'm heading that way. I feel the energy. I feel things are moving along.
Good.
More like I had a very organic conversation this morning with the woman that I just forwarded to you as well to meet with her. Yeah, and she wants to collaborate with me, so those are the kinds of things that I'm experiencing. So yeah, it's
Okay.
heading in the right direction. The wind is blowing the sail in the right direction.
Okay. Anybody else with what is anybody else's experience? How, as you look out in the marketplace, what's happening?
Well, I'll jump in. My consulting career got cut short about 10, 11 years ago when I had a
Mhm.
minor stroke. So I'm not only in the process of kind of rejuvenating my consulting career, but also moving from analog to digital,
Yeah.
and which is a major transformation in its own right. Since I come from the era of the unlimited airline ticket, so any rate, it's my sense is that one of the key components going forward is community, and community of clients, and the community like this, of practitioners of various kinds, because you know while it's marvelous to be able to, talk with Morrisons in Switzerland, and who knows where all the rest of you are. It's not the same as being there,
Yeah.
and so and again, this is still speculative on my part, as I am going to start next month experimenting with some community efforts to see if I can attract the kind of people that I'm looking for, which is entrepreneurs, CEOs of closely held companies,
Mhm.
5 to 50 million in sales,
Mhm.
and who are really tired of working 60, 80-hour weeks,
Mhm.
and really feel like there's got to be a better way,
So would you like
which
more of
there
those to
is.
drop? Would you like more of those to drop into your lap?
Oh yeah, no doubt
Okay,
about
so
that.
if we
So
let's see if we can cover that today. And just to give you a sense where everybody's at, so yeah, Morris is over there in Switzerland, right? Digi, where are you at? You're in some far off land. What is that called?
Lagos, Donald, Lagos, Nigeria.
So he's over there on the African continent, and
Lagos.
And Tom is even further away than that. Tom is in Minnesota. I mean, you can't get any further away from civilization than Minnesota, right?
Yep, the land of ice and snow, similar to Morris, but you know.
Yeah. Now Tony, he lives actually more in the center of the universe. He's up in upstate New York. So it's like, it's like,
Yeah.
it's real stuff.
Yeah, we actually have another sunny day here. This has been amazing.
Yeah. Janelle and I, Lenny, we live out in the Pacific Northwest. It rains all the time. Sun never comes out. Just not worth coming here. Don't visit. Or I mean, do visit and leave your tourism dollars, but don't move here. We don't. So finding those better clients. Okay, would that help anybody out here? How do we get to those where they're at? Okay. What I am finding is they're right in front of you. They're already there. They are actually, but the problem is you're not speaking to them. And well, you may be speaking at them, but you're not speaking with them. So many times we're speaking at them, but we're not speaking with them. And hence I post that picture of my cute little granddaughter, right, with the llama. So we visit the llama every Saturday. And it's kind of interesting. I live kind of across the street, but not really. I mean, it is technically we have to cross the street to get to my mother-in-law's house. Okay, it's a big area. I mean, we almost have to drive there. So when I say it's not one of those neighborhoods like where the houses are all together. I live in those places where you can't see the neighbor's house, right? But technically, my mother-in-law is across the street, but she's actually across my property, across the street, down the street, right? But it's there. But then if we go across her property, then through the back road, we get to my sister-in-law's property, right? So now we're quite a ways from home. And my little granddaughter knows the pathway because way at the far end are the pigs. Okay. Now we have to go through a forest trail, right? Through a gate, down a street, right? Down a long road, long driveway, imagine all that, right? And then way across the yard to where the pigs are at. And this little girl, she knows exactly where those pigs are at, right? And that's where we make a beeline. And I don't even have to really direct her. Once I point her, she knows where to go. Okay. Along the way, there's chickens. Okay. There's my 3 little chickens, right, that I still have. And then, my sister-in-law, they got a flock of about 30. I'm going to talk about eggs, right? But then there's alpacas, there's llamas, there's goats, right? There's things along the way that distract us. What is the coolest thing? What is the best thing around there, right? Do you feel like that's your marketplace? Does anybody feel like that when you're out there? Do you see what I'm talking about? It's like they're already there, but you're you're getting distracted by stuff. And you're speaking past your audience. Eric, you're nodding your head. Is that making sense? It's like, okay. So
Yes, absolutely. You had me at, are we speaking to them or at them? To be honest with you, I'm still there. I'm catching up.
yeah, right. And like Digi's been posting, he's had some good posts. And Digi, I haven't seen your posts. I don't know if they're just not coming up my feed, but I didn't see it this week. But it's like, when you're doing that, you have to think, you what?
I took a break.
Ah, okay. Well, I noticed. You think, is anybody paying attention? I'm paying attention. Okay.
I noticed I haven't seen him either, so I was looking for him.
Yeah.
He hasn't been
Okay.
there,
So
so.
he's like, oh, and then he's like, oh, did they really notice that? Yes, we noticed, right? Elaine got a pretty new picture of herself up there. Do we notice those things? We notice those things. But you have to ask yourself, are you speaking at people or are you speaking with them? Right? How do we speak with them? Okay. What I would tell each of you is that each and every interaction, and Lanny, this is digital and analog. I mean, it's no different. Okay, so don't just think one or the other. Okay, every connection, every back and forth, okay, is a pathway to your ideal client. I want you to think about that. And this is where people get confused on social media. Every conversation, every interaction, every time you hit the like button, every time you comment on somebody's post, right? Every time you broker a conversation on a Zoom call or by phone call, see each one of those as your pathway to your ideal client. Now, know who your ideal client is, but be willing to turn over every stone on the beach to get to them. And don't bypass the stones that you think are not that, because that stone might know the stone you're looking for. That stone is going to point the way to the stone you're looking for. Has anybody heard my beach walk talk, right? Have I told you? Like when we go to the beach, I walk down the beach until I find a perfectly round, flat rock. Now, last summer when we went to the beach, my family was worried about it because it was a couple hours later. I'm nowhere to be seen, right? And they could see, because nowadays with the phones, they could see where I was at. I am miles down the beach, further than I've ever been before. But I will walk until I find that rock. But along the way, I find rocks that point me to that rock, that give me evidence that I'm going the right direction. So when you're poking into the marketplace, look for evidence that you're going in the right direction and be willing to look a little bit further, Right? Does that make sense? Questions about that? Because I'm gonna role play with one of you here to show you how I get there. I want to get very, very tactical. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
So Terry has volunteered to role play with me.
Great.
And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of as I go through this process, I'm gonna kind of armchair quarterback it for you to show you what I'm doing. And this is a typical conversation. This is the conversation that I just had before I jumped on this call. So what I'm going to do for you, I just actually did this with somebody, okay, to get towards my ideal client. So I'm gonna show you. Is that helping anybody out? Okay, I'm gonna get really tactical here. Pay attention. So Terry, where are you at now? What part of the country are you in?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. How long have you been there?
Oh, 53 years.
53 years.
Well, almost 53.
53 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you were born there.
Absolutely.
Wow. And
Mhm.
and so I'm kind of curious. I mean, your family from Wisconsin? I mean, are they like early settlers of Wisconsin, or did they come to this Wisconsin from someplace else?
Well, my dad did. He was born and raised in Wisconsin, but my mother actually came from Illinois. Yeah.
Really?
And her parents had these big adventures of moving to the great North Woods of Wisconsin
Uh-huh.
to have their own campground. So that's
Wow.
how she got to be neighbors with my dad.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So have you ventured anywhere outside of us? Have you just always lived in Wisconsin? Have you ever had any time when you've forayed for school and stuff? Or you just been the girl in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I've been living here, except there was one summer that I lived in Canada for 3 months.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was on a fishing trip with my father when I was 16, and
Mm-hmm.
we've been going to the same place, for fishing for years.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular summer, the owners of the resort were needing somebody to help them because
Mhm.
the father and the daughter were going to Finland for the summer to
Oh,
visit with.
really?
Yeah, so they asked me to stay while I was up there.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta call McDonald's because I told them I was gonna come work for them when I got back.
Okay.
So anyway, I unexpectedly spent the whole summer in Canada, which was just beautiful, phenomenal.
Have you ever thought about moving back at some point, moving there or anything, or visiting for an extended time again, or?
Definitely, I would consider going back there. The family that I was around, they've kind of dispersed though
Oh,
throughout.
okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's gorgeous there. Loved Canada. I mean,
Uh-huh.
yeah, did a
In
lot of
in
it.
any other places that you ventured outside of Wisconsin?
I've been to Mexico. I've been to Punta Cana,
Mhm.
Dominican Republic, and just a couple other countries when I've been on
Mhm.
cruises. So.
So what keeps you in Wisconsin?
Well, right now, I would say my daughter right now
Okay.
is keeping me here because
Okay.
she just graduated from high school, but eventually I would love to be somewhere warmer. So I was
Ah,
thinking maybe California,
okay.
or somewhere where it's warmer.
Okay. I mean, is it just a matter of time, or do you have to, there's some these things you have to have in play before you can do that, or?
Yeah, there's for sure some things I need to put into place. My daughter's gonna be here now, going to UW-Madison. So,
Mhm.
she's gonna be 2.5 hours away, but kind of thinking like when would be the best time to
Mhm.
make a move. Yeah.
Hmm. And are you looking to move in style or downsize as you move, or?
Well, I'd be looking to downsize for sure. I'm kind of like, okay, enough with this, having to mow the lawn all the time. I would like to not be doing that as much.
Uh-huh. But you always hire somebody. I mean,
Yeah,
why are you still mowing the lawn? Why are you not hiring it done?
because it's great exercise.
Okay.
That's
Why
the
that?
only reason I do it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what did I do there?
Mm. Are you
Are you
asking?
ready? Are you ready for the formula? Did anybody recognize the formula? Where are you? Okay, so geographically, I need to know where she's at. I need to know Digi's in Nigeria, right? Now, what the heck's he doing in Nigeria? Well, he's from Nigeria, right? Terry's in Wisconsin. What is she doing there? Does that make sense? Like, oh, she's in Wisconsin. Great. Why is she in Wisconsin? Well, you see how deep the roots go there? There's a story there, correct? But you see, I didn't stop there. And I'm trying to figure out where would see 53. I'm thinking, oh, if I said to her, you see, now typically with somebody they say I've been in Wisconsin, but I've been there 20 years. My next thing I'm gonna say is, where were you before that? Okay. If I was using a template, does that make sense? I would say, where were you before that? Now, she said she's there 53 years. I mean, if I had asked her where she'd have been before that, what would I have just done? I would have broken rapport. It's like, how old do you think I am? Does that make sense? It's like does that make sense? Eric, I'm paying attention. So it's really crucial to pay attention because sometimes people will get a formula and they just rattle through it. And why did that work? Because you weren't paying attention. She's just, I've been there 53 years. I wanted to kind of tell her, my gosh, you don't look 53, right? What are you doing to take care of yourself? Okay. But I didn't want to go sideways at that point. Okay. Because in my formula, I want to find out how did they get to Wisconsin? So see, my next question was, wow, how did it, like, man, your family always been in Wisconsin? I mean, did they come over, someplace, are they indigenous people there in Wisconsin, or did they come over with the pilgrims, or right? And does it make sense? But I found out, and that, yeah, her dad's been there. Okay, but right away, hey, my mom came from Illinois. Backstory, right? And how many people never get to tell their backstory? Too many people in marketing and in sales, they get people to tell their story. right? But Tony White, when you get the backstory, like you were walking down the street, I see on Sunday, we could see in the video there, right? You know, but how many times have you walked down that sidewalk? And it's like, what is the backstory, right? When you allow somebody to tell their backstory, did you see how she opened up? Wasn't that crazy? But I'm also trying to find out what else, okay? Because I'm also thinking to myself, oh my gosh, Wisconsin. Okay, there's got to be something else. And so I found out what else. And then wow, Canada. Did you see how that came out? Right. But did you see her emotion change? Right. We went to it. We went to a whole different level because now she's speaking emotionally. Got it? Richard, are you paying attention? Right?
I'm 100% on board. You are a master at this. I learned it.
Yeah, does that
do
make sense?
something about it. Yeah.
I got her to an emotional level. Like I just got off the call with the gentleman. He's, you know, and his target is way too low, right? I says, my God, you got to be targeting, you know, business owners. And how do I get there? This is how you get there. How do you get to that more affluent person that can pay higher fees to you? Do you see what we just did? They are aching to tell you. I did this with a gentleman about a year ago at an event. I'm sitting next to this guy, right? And he flew into the event on his own plane. And not just a plane, I mean a jet, right? And it's when you think his own plane, no, not like a, you know, two little things go, no, he flew in on his own jet. Okay. And I did the exact same thing with Bill. And took him to a whole different level, right? Because I could, what do I say to this guy? It was easy. Do you see how easy that was? You can do that with anybody.
Doesn't it take some guts to keep digging in? Like, oh, they're going to get tired of this, or
Terry, did you feel like, were you getting tired of that?
No, I wasn't getting tired of it. I could have talked with you forever about it.
Yeah. And Richard, and recognize I put her on the spot. I didn't, so when I said, I didn't tell Terry ahead of time we were doing this, and she just did that in front of everybody. And it still felt incredibly good.
Mm.
Correct?
Mhm.
I mean, it's crazy. Does that make sense? It's, do you see what happened there? Okay, now the next shift in that process was, now what? It's now I'm being in a little bit intuitive. What's keeping you in Wisconsin? Right? Is this your dream? Like you're going to stay there the next 5 generations? Oh no, right? I want to go someplace warmer. So I'm looking for, what is she aspiring to? Right? And I'm looking for the gap now, right? How's she going to get there? Right. And I asked her a very key question. I'm not making an assumption. I mean, do you want to go there in style, or are you looking to downsize? She's looking to downsize. Okay. Whole different conversation. Maybe I need to get her dreaming a bit. That makes sense. And so you're trying to sell your high-end coaching package, and you're talking to somebody that is not going there. They're looking for more simplification. They're trying to take the weight off. See, now if I was talking with Terry, I'm gonna say, hey, let's work at systematizing it, getting processes so that happens. So you don't have those burdens. So you can go out and just get a condo, right?
Mhm.
She wants a condo. She doesn't want a big yard. Silly me. I don't think I will ever move because I love where I live. I mean, no, it just offends all you guys, but I live in paradise. Okay, already. It's kind of tempting. It's like, you know, I own my forest. Okay. But if I ever moved, it would be to a bigger forest. Makes sense. It wouldn't be, I would never move to less forest. I would always move to a bigger forest. But I would never want a bigger home. And my home's big enough. You get lost in the dang thing. I'll just tell you. I mean, and like I get enough to raise my kids and enough to host my grandkids. It's just all you need, right? That makes sense. So did you see the process I went through? Now, now we did that in a conversation, right? But when you're talking with people on social media It's the same thing. Now, I'm not gonna play it out. I mean, I'm not gonna type that out in a comment thread. That makes sense? But I'm paying attention to, I'm letting people tell their story. That makes sense? When I engage with people on social media, they're starting to tell their story. I want to dig further. Tell me more about that story. What else? What else? And I'm paying attention to their story. When somebody is telling their Lanny, when somebody else is telling their posting on social media and telling their story, if you pay attention to this story and show them, like by commenting on it and commenting intently and with thought, and do it consistently, you rise so fast to the top of who they're in their sites. It's crazy. I'm going after a couple of big targets right now. That's exactly what I'm doing. Okay. Those names and they're household names. So just full disclosure, I'm going after names that you guys would recognize. Well, if I told you, I'm not telling you because I don't want you stalking what I'm doing. Okay. Get out of my way. They're mine. They're on my fish hook, Tony, right? But I'm going after some, why not? And as they post about their story, you think, well, they probably just have their social media person doing that. Maybe, and maybe not. But I'm getting their attention. Now, I'm not being creepy and doing it every time, right? But when it makes sense, I'm engaging with their story. I'm curious about their story. I'm giving honor to their story. See how easy that is? Isn't that crazy? When people do that to you, think about, Morris, think about when you post something and somebody comments on it. You kind of go, somebody commented on my post. You know, it's like, yes, it's like, right? It's the same.
I make another post based on the comment they made on my post.
Yeah.
So search for more comments to keep.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, do you need to post some stuff? Yeah. Do you need to post some stuff? Absolutely. But don't miss commenting on other people's stuff. You know what I mean? Do you know where people don't comment enough on other people's stuff? Is on LinkedIn. You want to go to the top fast? Comment on LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, it's a blue ocean, my friends. I mean, Facebook, don't ignore Facebook, but I'm gonna tell you and Morris does a lot on X. Do we call it X now? Is that what we call it? The old Twitter, right? It's X, right? It's like
No,
X.
only Elon calls it X. The rest of the world calls it Twitter.
Okay, so on Twitter. It's just, but it's that. Okay. And I'm gonna tell you the process I just did was Terry. I do this over and over again. It is never failed. I'm gonna tell you, I have 100% success rate with that process. Believe me?
Can
Has
I
anybody?
can I tell a brief story along those lines?
Yeah.
Donald, you and I did some work together, and one of the resources I used was a major book that I was all excited about. I went to Amazon and wrote a nice review of that book. That guy found me on LinkedIn. The author found me on LinkedIn. We're now having a conversation next week because I left a comment on his book on Amazon. I mean, that's kind of a long string I wouldn't have expected. He looked me
Yeah.
up and found me.
Yeah.
All based on a comment I left.
I've often recommended Shad Helmstedter's book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, right? And I was working with a gal a couple years ago in Sacramento, and I told her about the book. The next next time I'm going to call, I talked to Shad. I mean, what do you mean you talked to him? Like, I got a phone call with him. I said, what did you do? I went on and I commented on his post or something, and he called me. I mean, he made arrangements to call her. Shad Helmstetter called her. I recommended that book to her. She read the book. Same thing, Richard. She went online, found him, made a comment on one of his posts. The next thing, she's on the phone with Shad Helmstetter. Paying attention? It's like, really? Oh my gosh.
I do have a question though, because you said you use this process and you get 100% success with it when you use the process. So that makes me think, what does success look like? Is it a client or is it a referral or is it a connection? When you say 100% success with that, what is the success?
Yeah, it gets me closer to my round flat rock. Yes, 100% success of when I do this with people, they never forget me. When I do this with people, they lead me to the next point I'm looking for. I have not done this with somebody where I didn't get to go somewhere else, whether they introduced me or they kept me in mind. Tom, it might be 6 months, a year. One gentleman, he's over in Scotland. 10 years later, I got a connection with somebody.
Cool. That makes sense. I get it. Thank you.
10 years later, he says, Donald, he basically told the person, if there's anybody that can help you with this, it's Donald. 10 years later. Yeah. Does that make sense? But you see, I'm not just planting seeds, right? I'm planting seeds. I'm putting the fertilizer in the ground, right? And I've got a constant water drip on it. And as Richard knows, I am patient, right, Richard? I mean, I patiently, or Morris has seen my patience with people, right? I am patiently there, but I am talking with them. There's a communication at their level, and I don't talk at them. That help you guys out? Yeah, Lanny.
You know, one of the things I've been thinking about when I started my consulting business in 1980, I started by making 50 cold calls a day, which is not the strategy that's going to work
That
today.
doesn't work anymore.
But
all those days were gone. I used to do that.
Yeah. But what I have been thinking about is, there are companies around whose values I resonate with, smooth, round, flat rock.
Mhm.
And so the question then becomes how to build a relationship with those companies.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
to me, what you just laid out is, how this gets done.
Yeah.
And particularly if you can find little ways to add value,
Mhm.
which you just did with Terry, by giving her a platform, to
Yeah.
tell her stories. So,
Yeah. One of the gentlemen,
and I sympathize with your wanting to leave Wisconsin. I went to college there, and I don't miss those 30 below mornings at all. I moved to San Diego the day I graduated.
Oh, wow. I love it. That was my kind of my dream, but it's been postponed until
Lenny, one of the gentlemen, Tommy Schaff, he's worked when I was working with Chet, he was one of the top consultants on the team. Really great guy, brilliant, baseball fanatic. I mean, crazy. And there are people that collect the shoes of professional baseball players. Like, I mean, Richard collects cars, little model cars, but I mean, everybody's got these weird collections. But there are people that are crazy collectors of, well, sports memorabilia. Let's say sports memorabilia. Okay. And so, and these shoes are like in high demand. I didn't realize that. It's like it is a thing. But if you're into professional baseball, it's like something. And so he buys these shoes and he pays crazy money for them, right? So imagine you got a pair of shoes, right? Now his target are Fortune 10 CEOs. That's who he works with. That's who can afford him. That's where he does his work. Do you know how he gets their attention?
Selling shoes.
He finds out if they're a baseball fan. And a lot of them, it's surprised, you'd be amazed that it's a gentleman's sport, right? And you can figure this stuff out. Okay. So he knows they're a baseball fan. And he really seeks people that are baseball fans, because if you're not a baseball fan, it's hard to work with Tom. It's just, you don't get him. It's like, because he just talks in all those metaphors. It's like, what are you talking about? But if you don't understand the game of baseball, right? So he has an affinity to baseball, right? He's talking with that marketplace. And he mails them one shoe of the pair. What do you think happens 100% of the time?
Well, that's going to provoke a reaction.
He has
Yeah.
them on, they are on the phone so fast with him. It's like crazy. But number one, Elaine, he got their attention. They know what that is, right? I mean, those shoes are numbered. I mean, it's like whatever, but he's only giving them one of them. They want the other one. So it's not just that they recognize what it is. They want the other one. What do I got to do to get that other one? Right. And I think his message basically to them, hey, there's another one that goes with this one. Call this number. Right? Just 100% of the time, right? And of course, I mean, it's not like a scammy thing. It's not like, oh, they got a shoe in a box, and like, what the heck is this? I mean, it comes in a box. And the other thing, he sends it in a box, right? And not just a box, but in a box, right? But the people that he is targeting, that makes sense. This is really important. I mean, if you in that level, right? These guys have got a wall of these shoes, right? And they can't stand, and they want that one, and they can't stand to have just the right one, right? That'd be like going to Starbucks and getting an empty cup. He just don't do it, right?
It sounds like a type of shark, and he's like preying on their biggest weakness, just going after it,
Well, but it's no difference than I just did with Terry. It allows them to tell their story. And when they get on a call, what do they talk about? Business?
Shoes, baseball shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. And every stat around that player. I signed a new client up a week ago. First call with him, never pitched him. We talked for most of an hour. I mean, it was tough because I had a half hour scheduled with him. We talked for an hour. I was lucky I had the other half hour open, but then I had a call, and we could have kept talking. Got on the next week with him and his brother because they're business partners. And I was smart enough to block an hour of time. I actually scheduled a 45-minute meeting, but I blocked an hour of time. Do you know what we did for 45 minutes? Did not mention business once. I let him tell his story even deeper, and then how his brother fit into that story. How long did it take me to pitch and get his credit card? For $25,000. 3 minutes. And when that 3 minutes was up, we went right back to talking about non-business stuff. We interrupted that call just long enough to collect the credit card. I didn't lay out all the details of anything. I didn't give him a proposal, didn't do anything. So your best clients are already in front of you. The problem is so many times you're talking at them and you're not speaking their language, you're not talking with them. You're talking about what you want to talk about. You're trying to tell them what you're going to do for them. They don't want to hear any of that. Eric, I was on a call with a gentleman last week, and it was a sales call. He knew it coming in. And you know what he did at the 20-minute mark? Because it was a 15-minute call. At the 20-minute mark, he says, "You didn't pitch me anything." And you know what I told him? I says, "Yes, I did."
Did he say what?
Sign me up, right?
I remember, Donald, this is bringing back memories when I was a young social worker again. I went to a training and she was talking about this is how you pressure cook people. And basically, she was using the analogy of what she meant by that was just to establish a relationship very quickly with people. So don't take that as a negative. It was totally, in good spirits. But that's what she was basically saying is like, you're not going to get to the, main course until after you had the appetizer, basically, like that kind of thing. Like you gotta, just build relationship. And that was the bottom line.
Yeah. In police work, they always call it bad cop, good cop, right, Tony? It's like one cop is going to be the hard runner, and the other guy's kind of, like my partner's a little bit of a jerk, and here's a cup of coffee. Can we just talk?
The good cop's the one that gets the confession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love all the high pressure salespeople out there. They make my job a lot easier. All of the high pressure salespeople out there, all the people high pressure pitching whatever they've got to offer, make my job a lot easier, make your job a lot easier.
Do you find, Donald, that people are, because of all the high pressure sales online, like the constant DMs that we're getting from people? I mean, you can almost see the connection or friend request. I help coaches scale their business by setting appointments right on their banner, and they're DMing you right away, the cold DM. So when you're trying to be genuine and reach out to people, one side says, well, that's got to be refreshing, but on the other side of it, there's always that suspicion. What's this person want? Why are they DMing me? So are you finding that that it takes a while in the conversation to really establish that rapport?
It kind of depends, Tony. Ultimately, it's the right time in the right place, and you've got to send, like Lanny. I mean, it's still 50 calls to get somebody to answer, right? It's still a numbers game, okay? And there's a lot of reason. There always has been. I mean, why does the guy sell chamois at the state fair? Because enough people are walking by ignoring him. He gets the one or two that hey, this looks interesting. It's still that, Tony. It's still a numbers game.
Yeah, that's
But
my
it is,
experience right now too.
yeah. But if you start and maybe don't think it's anything but that, and there's a lot of calls that don't end correctly, but you're going to get closer there by being real, being authentic, being transparent, and not salesy, not pitchy. You can okay. You see, when we say being salesy, they're not really being salesy. You see, it's a misnomer. They think, well, they're being too salesy. No, actually, they're not. That's the problem. It's all makes it's like, it's a bastardization of terminology. It's when I was younger, I mean, I got Tom Hopkins' book and I read that thing cover to cover, right? Did it work? Could something else work better? Yeah, a lot better. In all those sales books. The Glenn Grant, coffee is for closers. You know what I mean? Oh, come on. And we said, well, come on, we still kind of throw that around. I mean, that's why I drink coffee, right? Because I'm a closer. But it's different. Does that make sense? I am a hard closer. I'm a high ticket, hard closing salesperson. And I follow none of the training that's out there. And I will outsell everybody on a team every time I'm on a team.
You know the story of how Neil Rackham came to write his book.
Well, remind me, because I probably
He was hired as a sociologist to go to research.
That's right.
Find out what the high performing salesman did. And what he did not stay in the stadium where they were learning sales techniques. He went on the lobby and talked to those guys who weren't in the sales training and learned what they were doing, which is asking questions.
Yeah.
All sorts of forms of asking questions instead of pushing whatever.
Yeah.
So he learned to do what you're saying
Mhm.
by not sitting inside the stadium learning the techniques.
Yeah. Help you guys out today. Little magic there.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Really good
The other
stuff.
thing I noticed, I don't know, I suspect you were not doing it intentional just because it's probably something you do, but when you're having the conversation and reflecting back to Terry and to ask the next question, you were using a lot of the same words that she used. Like if my example is if someone says, "Yeah, that was amazing," you wouldn't turn around and say, "Oh, was that really awesome?" Because if you use the same word, there's there's something magical about that because they feel, "Oh, he's like me."
Yeah. That's exactly. Yeah, thank you, Tony. Actually, I was going to mention that it is the mirror matching. And so many times we have what we're going to pitch and we have our level of expertise and we have our own lexicon around that, our own words that we use. And we can't figure out why is, because we're the expert on this. So let me use my words. Okay. And it's like, no, you know what I mean? It's like Terry, like with what you do with the gut health and stuff. You know what you call it, right? But you gotta start thinking, what do they call it? Right?
Mhm.
Think about Winnie the Pooh. He's got that rumbling is tumbling. You got to find how do they relate to that? What are their words? What are the things that they're like? Oh, that's what she's talking about because they don't
Mhm.
understand your words. When I go to these advanced marketing, workshops and stuff like that, and they got all these terminologies and stuff: top of funnel, bottom of funnel, side of funnel, and all this stuff. And it's like nobody knows what that is. It's not it. And so somebody's like, oh, I can't do this because I don't understand what they're talking about. These marketing guys, they're all over. That's not it.
Mhm.
It's not it.
The other thing I noticed about you, Donald, too, is just the genuine curiosity, expressing that genuine curiosity, asking the questions. I mean,
Yeah.
when I've done social work here too, when I was a social worker, or I still am, but not working as one. But the thing is, I had to get information, like very personal information, very quickly
Yeah.
from people. And so when we come in, we're just talking about little chit chat and
Mhm.
we are able to get to the bigger stuff. But if I don't do the real, chit
Mhm.
chat about, wherever they're at that day, I'm not going to be able to get to the big stuff.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, but you made me realize that this is not as hard
Mm-mm.
as I think of when I think of networking. I always thought, oh,
Mhm.
networking, it sounds so scary, but actually it's not.
Yeah.
It's just talking to people.
It's like, hey, do you smoke marijuana? You don't want you don't ask that question. You say, hey, I mean, do you pour a hard drink before you take a toke on that reefer, or you just go right in? I mean, do you roll your own, or do you buy them pre-rolled? Right, Tony? I mean, it's like how are you asking the question? Right? It's it's like it's everything. It's everything. How you ask the question, and do they understand your question? This is why surveys don't work. People put out a survey, who wants red or blue? Well, I don't know, because you see, what do you mean by blue? I mean, you talking light blue? Or are you talking polka dot blue? Right? We're not asking the right questions. You've got to get on the ground. You've got to have the intuitive conversation. And your best clients are in front of you if you'll just start talking with them. And the people in front of you may not be your best clients, but they've got access to your best clients. And so that's the other thing to realize too. Atlanta, this is really, really crucial. I mean, everybody, you're only one or two people away from Jesus. I mean, seriously, it's just like, when you start following those pathways, I mean, how did I start a conversation with Zane, who's the CEO of a $300 million company? I didn't walk into his office, right? I built a relationship with somebody that had a relationship with him. Easy. I was only one person away from him once I started poking around. One person away. And I found out where he was from, how long he'd been there, where was he before, right? Why did he move there? Does he want to continue living there, or does he want to go somewhere else? Once I did that, I had 99% of whatever I needed to build a true relationship, to where he walked me in the door. Make sense? Cool stuff.